Hey everyone, welcome to the Internet of Things podcast. This is your host, Stacey Higginbotham, and this is our special CES edition of the podcast. It is sponsored by Machine Q, a Comcast company. So this past week, Kevin and I were at CES, that is the Consumer Electronics Show, with about 180,000 other people in Las Vegas. This year's show, the attendance seemed much less than in previous years. Usually there's a lot more bottlenecks, a lot more bodies on the show floor. Really, both Kevin and I were kind of amazed that we could just walk around without much interference at all. So, I don't know what to make of that except for possibly might be a rocky 2019. We've covered the news in some of our prior podcasts, but every year I like to bring y'all a show that we record at CES and we ask attendees their thoughts and a little bit about why they are here. And this episode, as I said, is brought to you by Machine Q. Machine Q is a Comcast company focused on IoT in the global enterprise B2B market. Their IoT platform includes best-in-class LoRa-based gateway hardware, enterprise-grade management cloud software, and secure wireless connectivity to help you easily create your own dedicated IoT network. This enables you to speed up innovation and reduce time to market. You can learn more at www.machineq.com. So, this year was actually the first year at CES for one of my interviewees. This was Mike Nefkins, who is the CEO of the newly created Resideo company. Resideo was created when Honeywell split out its consumer-facing businesses from its industrial and commercial efforts. Resideo makes thermostats, it provides home security, and it also makes the parts found like inside your water heater or HVAC system. So Mike and I chatted about the changes happening in the smart home. Okay, so one of the things we're seeing at CES is a lot of smart home stuff. I feel like a lot of it's incremental. We're like finally getting to where we had been saying we would be. And with you guys spinning out, I'm actually very curious what you're seeing in the smart home market, because that's where you're going to sell.
Yeah, so a lot going on in the smart home market, and what you said about incremental is right. You know, over the last 10 years, people have really adopted one single product at a time. No one wakes up one day and says, today, I'm going to make my home smart. But we're now finally seeing companies that are, they have the platforms and the connectability in the home to be able to now bring a lot of this together to really give you a smart home experience beyond just entertainment and beyond some of the basics. And we think we're going to really start seeing some adoption rates go up. And the reason for that is the pro channel or the do-it-for-me channel has finally caught up. These pros were typically screwdrivers and hammers, and they now understand basic networking. They now understand Wi-Fi. And because of that, they're able to come in and make sure that these connected products are truly getting connected in the home.
So what do you think that business model is going to look like, both for you and for the dealers and service providers?
Yeah, so it for each of those four areas, it's a little bit different. So look, the service model, we're going to be the provider of products and software, and the dealers will do the install and then do also the follow-up visits. And what we're hoping for is that our products, that we can actually sell the product through the dealer as well as have the end user use our software. And in certain areas, the software will be for free, and in other services, we'll actually charge a monthly fee or annual fee or whatever for certain services.
And you guys build stuff that lasts a long time. Like, nobody thinks about their water heater until it goes out, and they don't expect to replace it every 3 years. So as you start to put technology into those things, how are you changing the way you think about warranties, communicating with the customer, how long this stuff will last, or even how you build it?
No, so that's great, and I love that water heater example. So the example there, beforehand you wouldn't know there was something wrong until you came home and and everyone's had that, and it's a horrible experience. Now, what's interesting about hot water heaters, we'll use that example, is it will start to tell you 2 or 3 weeks before it's going to go down that there's something wrong. It will start to consume more energy, or it will start to leak. Now that we have these control units connected, it can send an alert to yourself or to your contractor and tell you, hey, you're using more energy and we're leaking, where they can, from a preventative perspective, come in and look at it and replace it before it goes out. That's exactly the difference. And what it means, number one, is that the product has to be connected. And number two, it means that you have to have a contractor, somebody assigned to your home. Think of it as, every person has a general physician. Our vision is that in the next 4 to 5 years, every home will have a contractor or a pro that is aligned to that's getting these alerts, and it's going to help you maintain these technologies and help keep them working and help keep your home safe.
Now, it's an interesting analogy to physicians because right now there's kind of this question that physicians have with like Fitbit data or heart rate monitoring data because they don't actually want to be on the hook if like something goes wrong and you're like, wait, why didn't you see that? They can't really monitor that from afar. So I'm curious about, I guess, liability in this case. Let's say your water heater explodes and maybe your contractor missed that memo. I don't know.
Yeah, look, we've this is where the Honeywell heritage comes in because we've been making fire systems for years. What we've done with combustion units where you have natural gas coming in with a flame. So that's what we're here for, and that's where the contractor can team up with us, and we'll make sure that these units are secure, they're safe, and we'll stand behind how they work.
Another first-timer at the show was Procter & Gamble. The company started building connected tech back in 2015. And at this show, they were showing off connected toothbrushes, skincare products, and a connected air freshener. I spoke with Tan Ha, who is an R&D director for air care products at P&G, about what they've learned selling connected devices to mainstream consumers, and what connectivity offers P&G's business. Okay, I imagine all of you guys have heard of Procter & Gamble. Tan here is in charge of R&D for specifically their air care products. The last time I checked in with P&G, they were doing a Febreze smart air freshener kind of system, and that was so long ago. And now this is their first year at CES. So Tan, why are you guys here?
So since you talked to us last, we have developed a ton of new technologies that really addresses consumer tension. So, for example, the product that my team is here with is called Area. And what we learned from the prior entry into CES, in which that product was called the Febreze Home, was a connected product using existing Wix-based plug technology. And what that product did well was it provided connectivity and some control to the consumer. But what it didn't do well is because it was Wix-based in terms of the perfume and the scent delivery system, it didn't solve the biggest consumer tension that people have with continuous air cleaning or air freshening product, which is starts too strong, goes through a period of that's just right, and then gets too weak. And so with that in mind, we went and looked at over 30 different delivery systems, say what's the right delivery system that can solve this consumer tension? Because people want consistency. They want the exact same thing from the very beginning to the very end. They want that scent experience to be authentic and consistent throughout. And so after going through over 30 different technologies, we settled on thermal inkjet as the technology that can deliver this consistency.
Does connectivity make it possible for you to use the thermal inkjet?
So we could have done the thermal inkjet without connectivity, so we would still solve the tension, very consistent scent delivery. But what connectivity does, it allows the user the next level of control. So for example, in our testing, what we learned is over 95% of those folks, they love the scheduling feature. So that's what connectivity allows, is additional control. So think of the thermal inkjet as the delivery system that allows the precision delivery. Connectivity allows that last layer of the control that people are seeking. And so what we've learned is people don't want to run it 24/7. They actually schedule it through connectivity, through the app. They run it a few hours in the morning during the weekday. It correlates to when they're getting up, getting ready for work or school. A few hours in the evening, it correlates to after dinner, coming home from work, and then maybe a few extra hours on the weekends because they happen to be home more. And so that's what connectivity allows, and it's amazing what the consumer experience has been.
You guys have been experimenting with connectivity for a couple years now. What have you learned about making your products connected, especially when trying to sell them to the mainstream audience?
Yeah, so connectivity has to really help solve a problem. I think being connected for the sake of being connected, I think there's a core group, probably small, of consumers like, hey, that's kind of cool, I'll buy it. But for the mainstream, I think it's like if connectivity really helps to either make the task easier or improve the experience, like the app connectivity and scheduling with Area, I think that's what we've learned. And so as we look at all the different technologies, the question we ask is, how is this technology, how can we implement this technology to really help solve a consumer problem?
And does connectivity open up new avenues in the R&D department? Like I'm thinking about like, oh, hey, maybe I could add something that really requires a connection to the internet to actually work or optimize the experience or make it even possible.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So two things. What it does is it allows another layer of control. And so the most obvious one in the area case is instead of running 24/7 or having some preset, we determine what the schedule is. This allows the users ultimate control there. And then the second thing for us from an R&D standpoint is we get to learn how people use the product. And then the connectivity through the app is people can tell us what they like, what they don't like. And, as you probably know with your other podcasts is, people are very, very open to providing feedback. And so that connectivity is actually a direct conduit to some consumers. So we get a lot of input that way too.
And broadly at P&G, how are you guys thinking of embedding technology in everything? Because eventually I feel like technology is just going to become like a layer, right? It's not going to be something that we think about or focus on much. So how do we get there faster? Because I think the big consumer brands actually do a better job of making my life easier than like a tech company.
Well, yeah. So how we do that is with products like Area, products like the Gillette heated razor, the Opti, is new technology always comes at a price premium, right? So I think it would be a mistake to rush out there and try to implement connectivity on like a bottle of shampoo, right? I mean, it might be cool, but just from an affordability and is it really solving a problem? No. But what would be cool is like for products like Area that requires new technology to solve the consumer tension we're trying to solve, adding connectivity there would be a natural way to make that connectivity more available in more homes. And then as the scale drives there, I think the cost will go down.
All right. Thank you so much, Ton.
All right. Thank you.
Building a connected air freshener or adding connectivity to your operations can be hard. So let's turn to our show sponsor, Machine Q, and its CEO, Alex Karam, to talk about how enterprises, even those who may not attend CES, can adopt the IoT without a lot of fuss. Alex, thanks for sponsoring the show. So how is Machine Q helping the enterprise adopt IoT applications faster?
Enterprises are actively piloting many low-power IoT devices today. Unfortunately, many aren't scaling fast enough because as they look to scale across particular vertical application needs, each one of these devices they want to deploy requires additional IoT infrastructure, which becomes difficult to manage. Many of the IoT applications we've seen have devices, a digital layer, and gateway as well. At Machine Q, we offer a centralized, best-in-class LoRa gateway, coupled with software to manage those gateways and software to manage multiple types of devices. So rather than taking multiple ports on routers and switches in your factory or in your store, by deploying the Machine Q gateway and gateway management tools, you can manage as many different devices from as many different companies and partners as you like.
Where can I go to find out more about Machine Q?
You can go to machineq.com to learn more about our products and services, and you can go directly to store.machineq.com to purchase anything.
Unlike the CEO of Resideo or P&G, this wasn't Kohler's first time at CES. That was last year. However, the maker of fixtures, toilets, and tubs was the talk of this year's show with its Madam A-enabled toilet. That's right. As part of some of their collections, they put the Amazon Echo into a toilet so you can talk to it. I asked Jonathan Bradley of Kohler why Kohler decided to make that decision and how. Okay, Kohler was the star of CES. Most people were talking both snarkily and excitedly about the connected toilet with Madam A inside. But there's actually real value, as you guys know, in connecting your plumbing, as it were, to the Internet of Things. So I love telling Madam A to fill my spaghetti pot with 2 quarts of water. That's amazing. So we're bringing this into the bathroom. Let's talk about why. Jonathan, what is Kohler doing here, first off?
Yeah, so Kohler, a 145-year-old brand, been leading design and innovation in the bathroom space from the very beginning. This is kind of our next foray into that space. We already know that 80% of consumers bring a smart device, a tablet or a phone into the bathroom, and we already know that 13% are using voice to do something. We're just trying to give them that experience more elegantly and more integrated and help provide those use cases that actually make sense with some of our Kohler Connect products.
All right, I have to ask, why do I need Madam A in my toilet, especially because you've got it embedded in a mirror, which is also in my bathroom?
Yeah, so the choice between the toilet and the mirror is just about giving our consumers flexibility in which one of those products they might want to interact with, right? So they both have embedded Amazon Alexa. We know that every morning you start in the bathroom and you end in the morning. It's a great place for information download, whether it be what's my schedule like for today, what's the weather, help me decide what to wear, or if it's just that entertainment factor of playing music. And then also, now that it's Alexa fully embedded, you have control over the entire rest of your smart home as well while you're getting ready in the morning.
Oh my gosh, sitting on the toilet and telling Madame A to make my cup of coffee. It feels weird. But, I'm sure there are people out there who are going to do it. So let's talk about the overall, because you've got a bathtub, you have the sink, you have the mirror, and you have the toilet. Do you have a shower component?
Yeah, so what's great about Kohler Company is we offer the full portfolio of products in the bathroom for our consumers, whether it be the shower, the tub, the toilet, the vanity, the mirror. We offer that entire collection, so we can help curate that portfolio of products for you and build that smart bathroom on your behalf.
So walk me through my Kohler smart bathroom experience. I have just woken up. I'm groggy.
So you just woke up. The Veil Lighted Suite's a great example of what could happen in the morning. So the Veil Lighted Suite integrates lighting throughout all of the products in your bathroom. You could have it energized to the most bright setting in the morning to help you wake up, get ready, and start your day. Then once you're energized for the morning, right, you can now have Alexa start your morning routine. So your shower can turn on, your lights can go to that bright setting. After your shower's done, you can have your coffee pot start. All that can be automated while you're still in the bathroom finishing up throughout the rest of the day.
Okay, and right now I have a Google Home Mini in my bathroom, and I use it to listen to podcasts while I shower, and it's fun. Okay, so these are products that I plan to buy maybe once in my house. I mean, these are like 15-year products. I know you guys have like a major, awesome warranty. As you add technology to them, does that shorten their lifespan?
So we understand these are fixtures in your bathroom, and a bathroom remodel takes time and energy and money. So we've created over-the-air updates for all these products. We know voice is going to be around for some time, want these products to be updatable and can continue to live on throughout their life cycle. So not meant to be a one-year life cycle, but meant to be a longer life cycle like you mentioned.
Okay, and how did you guys do this? Did you hire a bunch of engineers who are IoT people, or did you outsource this? What was the process? Because embedded boards and like software development, that does not feel like maybe your class of expertise?
Yeah, so a couple ways to talk about that. So we've actually been doing technology products for over a decade. So we've had DTV on the market for a long time. We've had intelligent toilets. We have smart bathtubs that have our hydrotherapies. We've been doing this for some time. So this is the next progression in that step. We've done a mixed bag, right? So we have our expertise in-house of how our products work. We've also gone out and partnered with the right vendors to make this ecosystem. So Microsoft Azure is our partner for our cloud environment. So done what's right for making the products right and then the infrastructure right together. So it's been a partnership.
Another big trend in both the bathroom and outside of it was aging in place. We're all very concerned about the demographic shift to more seniors and not enough people to take care of them, be it in the US or in Japan, where this has been happening for a while. So we saw a lot of robots who could help care for the elderly, a lot of fall detection sensors, and tons of wearables. Even companies in the smart home were trying to find ways to build non-intrusive sensors into devices that could help keep an eye on grandma or grandpa. Neil Mitchell of Leeo explains why his company pivoted from a smart nightlight to a device that helps keep track of people inside their homes. All right, so Neil, I remember Leeo launching a couple years back with a connected nightlight that listened for smoke alarms, and it was kind of neat, but apparently no one really went for it, or it didn't seem to gain a lot of traction. So you're here now at CES, and you've pivoted. Can you tell me a little about what you're doing now?
So we're no longer just a hardware company, we're actually a services company, and we're using the smart nightlight technology to actually incorporate a bunch of new sensors. So effectively we're making these nightlights environmentally aware, we're making them presence aware, and combined with your cell phone, we're also making it activity aware. So we're combining all of those together to basically put together all of this intelligence about what's going on with our independent living parents. We want them to be living independently, we want them to be good, we want to be aware of how they are. But what's unique about our solution is it's mutual. So in addition to us knowing that grandma's okay, grandma may want to know that we're okay, and grandma may want to know that her grandkids are okay.
So the platform, I can have these in different houses and we're all in the same place.
That's correct. And also, for the grandkids, there's going to be a free version of this, so No hardware will be required. You can just have the app running on your cell phone, and the grandkids, that's all they need.
What sensors are inside this?
So we've incorporated additional sensors, particularly on the presence side. So we do have multiple PIR, so that's infrared sensors, and we also have a radar in there as well.
This is a resurgence of radar, you guys. We're seeing it everywhere, which is kind of a neat thing to do and is typically more privacy focused. So service plans. Now, this nightlight used to be like $99. What are you charging for it now?
Yeah, we haven't fixed the pricing completely yet, but as I said, there will be a free version of the service, which is really just the application. And then there'll be a package of maybe 3 of these devices that you can put into our parents' home, maybe one in the bedroom, one in the living room, one in the bathroom. And those sensors will give us enough intelligence to know what's going on. For example, if grandma gets up in the middle of the night, we detect that movement. She makes it to the bathroom.
So you're not telling me how much this is, though?
That's correct.
And once again, it's time to hear from our sponsor, Machine Q. Let's go to Alex. Alex, one trend that we saw last year is that companies are looking for specific vertical solutions. They need a lot of help and expertise in building out their IoT infrastructure. How can Machine Q help them?
We can help you in 2 different ways. We work with hundreds of vertical solution providers who have deep sector expertise by building their own devices and application layers. And if you happen to need a mousetrap, a water detection device, lighting system, and it happens to be LoRaWAN, we have a whole slew of partners who've built those things, and we can help match those particular solutions with your needs. Alternatively, if we don't have an existing partner today, we can even build and help design the particular device that you need. We do that internally. We have engineers, we have designers, and we can prototype and commercialize that for your particular request.
Alex, where can I go to find out more about how Machine Q can help me with vertical IoT applications?
The best place to find information would be at machineq.com.
All of the sensors and connected devices in the world matter very little if you can't send the data around the home or to the cloud. So for the rest of the show, we're going to focus on the network connectivity trends we saw at CES. Faster Wi-Fi, lower powered Wi-Fi, Bluetooth mesh, and the return of Dotdot, which is a wireless interoperability standard that brings Thread and Wi-Fi together, are all on the table. So first up, let's talk to Brian Bedrosian, VP of Marketing at Cypress Semiconductor, about Bluetooth mesh and Wi-Fi. Okay, so one of the big topics here at CES is, as always, smart home, wireless standards, etc. So Bluetooth Alliance is really making a big deal about mesh, and they're also adding profiles for various smart home devices. And I'd love to get your opinion on how this is actually going to play out, because profiles on top of a radio feel like an effort that might lead to interoperability problems.
I think, the Bluetooth SIG has been great about creating interoperable profiles for audio and music and mouse and keyboard for years. They've done it better than anybody else. And if you look at the whole wearables market for fitness and connections like that, all the profiles are completely interoperable. And it's one of the things that's distinguished Bluetooth as a technology that keeps, growing across new segments as it moves forward.
Okay. And are you excited? Do you see that people are going to really adopt this for the smart home, or is it going to be, maybe the more traditional technologies?
We really believe that Bluetooth will begin to expand more in the smart home. Wi-Fi, of course, is the backbone of the home internet, and it's the de facto standard for home networking. Bluetooth is the most compatible technology, and together they're in every smartphone and tablet that consumers use to control their home. So we really see the combination of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi evolving to really be the center of the home network together.
Do you think we'll see Bluetooth-powered sensors?
I do. Bluetooth Low Energy has really brought together a whole new realm of ultra-low power products. It can be coupled with high-power transmission. And with mesh now completing the Bluetooth profile, we can connect every device together, feeding back into the home control.
Okay, so Cypress is a chip vendor, and you guys bought Broadcom's Wi-Fi business. Let's talk about some trends you're seeing in Wi-Fi. I know here, so far, I've seen a lot of Wi-Fi powered devices, even though it's super power hungry, but people just don't want to deal with hubs. So I'm very curious, what are you seeing with Wi-Fi in the smart home?
We're seeing two different directions in Wi-Fi right now. We'll announce our Wi-Fi 6, the very high-speed technology, the latest generation of 11AX, gigabit speed wireless tomorrow for automotive infotainment line. But we're also seeing ultra-low power Wi-Fi take root. And there are a couple companies that are announcing products with our new 28-nanometer wireless products that are delivering power consumption profiles very close to what Bluetooth was a couple years ago. So battery-operated Wi-Fi is here.
Wait a second. All right. Is this a new Wi-Fi standard like Halo or something weird like that, or is this just low-power Wi-Fi 6?
This is just low-power Wi-Fi, fantastic architectures, 802.11ac friendly, and works in any home network.
So let's talk about this in battery life on this kind of sensor. Or is it for sensors or something like that, or are we looking more for like cameras or that kind of use case?
Yeah, right now the low-power Wi-Fi is really for things more like cameras and portable music, things like battery-operated thermostats. But we'll see one more evolution past that that'll take it into the sensor space as well.
And that'll be what time frame?
Well, within the next 12 to 24 months.
I'm going to hold you to that, Brian.
We'll deliver.
As you can probably tell, I have my doubts about those Wi-Fi sensors happening anytime soon. But I did see some Bluetooth sensors when I visited with Kevin Tate of Rigado. We talked about sensors, sales, and who's buying IoT. We've been talking a lot about Bluetooth here at CES, and I finally found what I was looking for, which was actual Bluetooth sensors. And this is a big deal for me because I love sensors. I think there's a lot of power in them. And I like Bluetooth. I think it's more accessible technology. So let's talk about what it took to get to this point where we have the ability to use Bluetooth sensors.
Sure. Well, so a lot of commercial applications require device to cloud, right? Where you need a device that can do the sensing, connect via Bluetooth, and then get to something like a gateway that can translate Bluetooth profile information into something like MQTT the cloud can consume. So a lot of what was required was getting that pipeline to be standard enough so that companies could not have to build every step themselves. So a lot of what we've done in the Rigado Gateway is make that BLE, or Bluetooth Low Energy, to MQTT translation very easy. So with Bluetooth sensors in particular, we can work with a wide variety of Bluetooth sensors. In fact, anything that's Bluetooth 4.2 or Bluetooth 5 compliant can talk to our gateway. It can talk to it as a beacon. It can talk to it in paired mode. We can even control those devices from our gateway, and all that can be pushed seamlessly to the cloud.
It's a little wacky, though, because people, the big selling point of Bluetooth was always like, oh, it's on my phone along with Wi-Fi. And in this case, we're actually doing away with the phone because the phone is kind of it's this terrible blockage point. I'm curious, does that change? Do people realize this is happening? Does this change how they think about deploying it?
It's a huge difference when you move into a commercial environment versus relying on a personal phone. And we take phones for granted, but they're extremely good at connecting to wireless devices, running secure applications, and connecting to the cloud. So in a lot of ways, the infrastructure required to collect sensor data in, say, a restaurant or a hospital or a smart office, it looks a lot like a phone. You're doing the same things, connecting devices, running applications, and pushing data to the cloud. But short of someone stapling their phone to the ceiling of every room, you need an infrastructure that's a little bit different to do that. Still secure, still scalable, but one that can run multiple applications, collect data from lots of different types of sensors, and get it where it needs to go. To your point, I think the fact that Bluetooth especially started with the phones means that the landscape of the infrastructure that companies like Rigado are creating now mirrors a lot of the way the phones used to do it.
Okay, and one of the big themes that isn't a CES theme, it's just we're all trying to adopt IoT and finding it's really hard theme, is this idea of I will package everything up to you, send you a bunch of sensors, a gateway, or whatever, and then give you the data that you need. We're seeing this with companies like My Devices, Machine Q, which I should admit right now is a sponsor of this particular episode, and you guys are talking about this. So why is this happening, and what are the ramifications of that?
So I think there's a couple of interesting reasons that's happened and things that unlocks. One is a lot of IoT is still in pilot and prototyping mode, right? And so companies, let's say a company says, I'd love to have temperature and location data about all these assets in my warehouse, and I want to get that data up to the cloud and see what I can do with it. If it takes them 6 to 9 months to get to the part where they actually have the data and can then, quote, see what they can do with it, then that's a tremendous lift, right? And so being able to say to a company like that, great, here's a package that allows you to get the data you wanted in a week or in even an afternoon, then you can skip right to the part where you're assessing the business value, you're testing out the ROI, you're figuring out what it would mean to invest in a large-scale solution. I think that unlocks a lot of what has frankly held up the IoT industry from a pilot perspective.
And who is buying these types of solutions? Is it the guy who in the hospital is trying to keep the drugs cold? Is it the IT department? What's happening?
Yeah. The answer can be all of the above. One of the areas of focus for us here at Rigado is we are trying to get that data to a solution provider, a systems integrator, or an end customer who ultimately needs to be able to act on the data and make decisions in their cloud. And I say that because there are a lot of solutions out there that I would see more as like a stovepipe solution, that you have, if you use their sensors, their gateways, and their cloud, then you can take that data, put it in your cloud, and do something with it. The customers that work with Rigado tend to want to get the data directly to their own cloud. They want edge infrastructure that gives them the data they need to act on it. And so ultimately that feed, that MQTT data stream, becomes the point of intersection.
And for our last interview, I try to figure out what happened to Thread and why this is the third year that we're hearing about ZigBee and Thread coming together with the Dotdot standard. I still haven't seen any products on the market touting Thread or Dotdot. So Daniel Mineta, co-founder of MMB Networks and a member of the ZigBee board of directors, explains why. One of the new things happening at CES is that the ZigBee Alliance talked about its work with Dotdot, which is a new interoperability standard. The idea is that we're going to be able to run Thread, which is yet another wireless protocol, over things like Wi-Fi and ZigBee, and it's going to be magic. And this is actually the second year we've heard about Dotdot at CES, so I'm curious to see why we're hearing the same thing again. Daniel?
So I think actually it's the third year we've been talking about Dotdot at CES, and I think that's because, you have to keep in mind a lot of these standards bodies like ZigBee are talking to product managers and are talking to people that are looking at the next few years of their devices. And so 2 years ago, what we announced was the existence of Dotdot, which is the intention to take the interoperability language that lets ZigBee devices work together so reliably and has powered some of the most popular smart home devices to date, and enable that to run over networks that aren't just ZigBee networks, so networks like Thread and others. Thread was the first one that we chose. Last year we announced that actually we hadn't even, I think, had a name for it 2 years ago. Last year we announced that this was Dotdot, that we were working with the Thread group, that we had reached an early version of its release where we invited people to come and join ZigBee to look at the spec, to start working with it. We had devices that were actually interoperable on this early version of the spec. And now at CES 2019, we're announcing that the spec has reached the 1.0 status. It's a formal spec, it's a completed spec, and that's something that developers can start working on without worrying that things are going to change. I think also importantly, especially for product managers, is that certification is going to be available starting soon in 2019. And not only that, but we've worked with the Thread group, because that's the first network that Dotdot is going to be available on, to ensure that there is at least one, if not more, certification houses that can do both in one place. So you can write one check, you can go through one process and get certified on both Thread and on Dotdot.
And why, as a consumer, should I care about this? Because consumers don't love the idea of more standards to think about. So what does this mean for me?
So I think over the past couple of years, the smart home has kind of been a wild west where consumers are bringing all of these devices home, and whether they know it or not, the way they've been connecting them is by creating an account for that device, connecting it to that vendor's cloud service, then that vendor's cloud service talks to the Amazon cloud service or the Google cloud service, which then communicates from their smart speaker. And this sort of works for the first 1 or 2 or 3 devices, or maybe the first 1 or 2 or 3 months out of the box. But things start to fall apart a little bit at scale. When you have 30 devices in your house and they're all talking to your controller, whether that's Google Home or whether that's Alexa, through 30 different APIs, 30 different implementations of the cloud, what you're going to get is this thing where every so often, like, one of them doesn't work, and it's very frustrating, and it takes a couple days for that vendor to update their device. And, we kind of have a tolerance for that on our smartphones. Oh, I'll find the app crashed, I'll restart it. We have no tolerance for that when our lights don't turn on or turn off when we're trying to go to bed. So I think device vendors and ecosystem vendors are realizing that the only way this scales, especially to the large population that are not tech geeks and don't have this tolerance for things not working properly, is you need to have standards for how devices talk to each other.
I feel like I've dealt with all of this by putting in Amazon Echoes or Google Homes in my house. Why do I still need to care about this, or maybe I don't?
Well, I think it's almost similar to if you think about this time in the IoT in the same way that we thought about the early internet, is you sort of pick like AOL or MSN, and you kind of had to stick within those confines. Like if you had friends on those networks, great. If they weren't, you can't really do anything with them. And listen, that was a very successful way to start the internet, right? That helped us innovate and helped us figure out what people actually care about and what they want to do. And hey, and there's instant messaging and there's email, and that was fantastic. But eventually you did want to talk to your friends outside, and you wanted to do anything on the internet, not just what one of those ecosystems allowed. And that's kind of where we are in the smart home, where these major companies are probably still going to be very important and be very important controllers in the home, but they shouldn't really be the ones defining what you can and can't do in the home. You should be able to go out and get new applications and new innovations and new devices and bring them home and have them just work without having to log them into a particular account or having it to explicitly support that one particular vendor that you're using.
Dotdot makes my home just work. I would be very excited. We'll see. Okay, y'all, that concludes the special CES edition of the Internet of Things podcast, sponsored by Machine Q, a Comcast company. To find out more about Machine Q, its IoT platform, its gateway hardware, and its enterprise-grade cloud management software, visit www.machineq.com. I'd like to thank Alex Karam at Machine Q and everyone else at Machine Q for supporting our CES show. And I'd also like to thank all of you guys listening to it. We'll see you Thursday with our regularly scheduled show, and in the meantime, enjoy those gadgets.